All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Kyle Hermans. I represent Synectics World, innovation and creativity firm that has been in existence for 50 years. We're here to talk to you about new product development, tools and techniques, and things that we've experienced all around the world for the last 5 decades. For me personally, just this last year alone was around 4 countries, 30 plus cities, about 20 odd brands. For our company alone, we did about 17 countries, around 50 plus cities and around 50 brands, and there was about 12 of us going around doing really powerful breakthrough new product development. So what we'd like to do today is to share with you some of the things that we've learned for your course about how when you go back into your businesses that will empower you to be able to drive new product development forward. And also, these are all things that you know already in your subconscious that we're going to bring up to your conscious so that you can work collaboratively with your teams and your organizations to make that breakthroughs happen. I work a lot with people with MBAs all around the world, and it's they're a very, very intricate part of that business. They're a very intricate part of that team, and one of the things that I've found and that we've found with our firm as we go out and start to service the Fortune 1000 companies is when we're learning and when we want to get into the business world, things start to shift. And one of the things that kind of gets slightly suppressed is the ability to be very creative. What we're going to be doing over the next sort of 40 minutes is bring some things from your subconscious back up to your conscious, but also inviting you as you go into the business worlds, as you get your degrees and as you go and, well, you're all fully employed, right? So you're already in businesses. So as you go back into the workplace, there's some things that you might be mindful of. There's some great tools and techniques that you can take back in with you to spark your own creativity and realize that in a very operationalized system, which can be a very big business, pushing out wonderful products and things like that, that creativity is has a very big role in that. And there's a way that both sides of these things can actually coexist. So you good? You ready for this? All right, great. And we're gonna have a bit of a play. Just we've got like a couple of hours, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, just to run through for you guys to practice a couple of those principles. Now, usually, just to put it in perspective, we do these types of things with our Fortune companies in over 2 to 3 days. So the fact that you're going to be running things in 2 hours is, yes, it's a speed, but it's this is the idea of learning to communicate, learning to get some ideas out. Sorry?
You can do speed dating or regular.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. It's just like speed dating, 5-minute speed dating. This is about getting your ideas out, making a decision. It's trusting your instincts, trusting your creativity, building up good climate with each other as well, just to share some things. We are working on relatively a real task, and we call things our best current thinking as opposed to it has to be perfect when we walk out of here. We've got a couple of hours to come together to work around something, to put some ideas against something, and then our task owner, which we'll get into as well, which is Peter, he'll be able to take some of those forward. So wherever we get to by the time that we have is just perfect. And this is just about you guys practicing and applying some things together. Yeah? Okay, so let's get into it. So synectics, yeah, bringing together diversity. Syn and ectos, this is where that word comes from. Synectics, syn, ectos, bringing together diversity. What we have in this room and what we tend to do is bring together as much diversity as possible. When you work in big corporations, there are people from all around the world, different backgrounds, different cultures, languages, ethnic groups, all those kinds of things, different industries that may come together. This is diversity. When you find that the more diverse a crowd, the more there is a wealth of content that can be extracted, what we call human capital or intellectual property for the company that can be extracted if the climate is right to work together to power that business forward, to create new product development. So for ourselves, the bringing together diversity is a big part of what we do, and hence why our name is around that. This one, as you know from Gandhi and from a bunch of other people, is that to be the change that you want to see in the world, it's something that we offer up, which is that for ourselves that we found when creating great new product breakthrough is that in order to make something happen or to support it in a business, it has to start inside yourself first. The belief of it has to start inside yourself. Regardless of the obstacles that are front, it starts here. And this is that thing. If each of you believe in something before you even start it, the chances of it being successful are far greater than, wait, let me just see before I get there. Let me gauge what's going on first before I start committing to it. So if you want to see great breakthrough, breakthrough has to start as a mental space inside of your mind. And what that takes for us, we find, and I believe that we in this business is the business of selling courage, or the business of being courageous. Because a lot of our job, we facilitate breakthrough creativity. We're not like sort of the big market research firms, say like a McKinsey or a Bain, which is slightly different. Here's a big budget. Go away and tell us what to do. We're slightly different. For us, our motto is that not invented here, meaning give it to me to invent and I will tell you what you should do with it, 50% chance that it's not going to go anywhere. So the fact that with what we do is we facilitate that creativity with our clients, which means that that diverse group are the clients themselves. We take them back into the market, and I'll show you a slide on that. We get them to be courageous, go and ask those questions, because if they solve it and find those keys and those solutions together, the chances of that surviving through the organizational, stage gate processes or whatever it is to get to market are far stronger, far greater. So the courage starts with you. Our founder, George Prince, said that another word for creativity is courage. We're talking about innovation. Innovation is that thing that you hold, which is the end product. That's our terminology for it. That's our belief. Innovation isn't the process itself, it's that final result. Creativity is the process that gets you the innovation. That's from our world. That's what we believe. Whatever you believe is also is good, and we respect all of that. Just from our point, innovation is the end result, creativity is the journey, and it takes a lot of courage to be creative, especially with a diverse group, especially with all the pressures of operationalism within an organization. So I want you to try something really quickly. We're going to do this in 5 minutes. This is about being courageous, just to kick this off. I'd like you to turn to somebody so that you're in pairs. So you'll have an A and a B. Just figure that out, who's going to be A and who's going to be B. Has everybody got a pair? Are you a couple? All right, enjoy your date tonight. Here it goes. Person A. Now the whole clue here is do not share your stuff yet. I will tell you when to do this. Person A. I just want you to write down a generic solution. This could be anything, but I would like for you to make it as absurd and creative as possible. So it could be asteroid-flavored popcorn. That could be a solution. Anything, just anything crazy. Just write that down. Don't show it to the person. All right? Person B, I want you to write down a generic problem. Again, don't share this with anybody yet. Just write down a problem. This could be anything like how to get my laundry done, I want to paint my fence, I want to buy a new car, I want to take a vacation. Just something generic. It doesn't need to be I want to save the world. If you want to go there, fine. But just something simple and generic. You've got 10 seconds. First thing that comes to mind. Raise your hands if you've both done that. Okay? Okay. Yeah, got it. Good. Right. Now, here's what I want you to do. B, turn to A. A, don't share anything yet. B, turn to A. Tell them your problem. B turns to A and B tells A the problem. What's that problem that you have? Okay, A, I want you to get really excited and say, I've got the solution for you. Here it is. And give them that solution. Okay. Now B, what I want you to do is, however they came across, maybe some of you got some fusion already. The others, where if it just doesn't seem to fit, make it fit. I want you to force that connect. Take it as a metaphor. Take it as an analogy. Take it as something like that. Just find a way to make it fit. Find a way to make it fit for yourself and feed that back to B.
Maybe that's why you're backed up. Too many people involved. Too many people involved. Or maybe we just apply the people involved, force the group in there, figure out how things go, what's maybe the will evolve.
Okay, who would like to share an example? I know you want to carry on. All right. I invite you to take this with you afterwards. You can carry on this. I just wanted to get you into this mindset. You wanted to share? Okay, so what was the problem?
The problem is that next quarter I want to come in and take a weekday class.
Uh-huh.
I flying from the Bay Area, so I'm
Oh,
concerned
right.
about the traffic and things like that.
Of course, yeah. And the smog and the fog or whatever that is, yeah, yeah. What's the solution?
A flying car.
Are you kidding? How's that, huh? Okay. So taking a flying car to your problem, how did you, if you make that fit, okay, because that's kind of abstract, what did you take from that? If you think of it as a metaphor and analogy, how could that solve your problem for you?
Flying car, it's not going to fly, but I'll have to flying
Uh-huh.
and figure out how to commute from the airport to here
Mm-hmm.
on a weekday, which would be very different from driving on a weekend.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So yeah, so here's something as well with the flying car as well. If you just think about it, okay, so what if I take another mode of transport that allows me to get there faster? And you could start unpacking what that could look like, what that could mean. Great. Another example. Yeah, and then we'll come in.
So the problem was needed to learn more rapidly.
Okay.
That's my problem.
The
Okay.
Professor.
Yeah. You
And
need to learn more rapidly.
I do.
Got it.
My solution was sort of an alarm clock / bed that, when it goes off, actually tilts up and dumps you out. And the idea being that will give him more time to absorb information and think and meditate and be ready for the day, and so therefore learn more rapidly.
Wonderful. I'm connecting that you could actually write the learning on the floor if it's going to throw him out as well. As soon as he lands there, he's got something else to come up in front of. Like, oh, that's my point of the day, and then make it stick, right? Apple on the tree stuff. Good. Okay. Yeah, there was another one here.
Oh,
So what's the problem?
problem was finding a restaurant for dinner.
Okay. Solution?
Solution was self-cleaning teeth.
Sorry?
Self-cleaning teeth.
Self-cleaning teeth. Okay. So,
The way we connected is basically, I find in the restaurant, you eat food, and then the teeth get clean automatically after the food.
wonderful.
Maybe the food clean.
Maybe the food cleans it, so you add something to the food.
Okay. A new product. A new product already started. All right. Anyone? One example. Yeah. Let's have it. Thank you so much. Yes.
What is the problem?
My problem was how to be 10 times thinner.
Okay.
The solution is a magic crib that makes babies sleep through the night. So,
And how did you force that?
logic is, if baby sleeps through the night, then you also have a sound sleep, so you can get up early and do exercise to lose those 10 pounds.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. Give yourselves a round of applause. There will be others, but just to move on. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is a really interesting. We call this an open-mindedness exercise. There's a much bigger exercise built around this. But the basic principle is that I could literally give you any answer to anything before I even know the problem. And we could force connect that solution to any problem, and we could find a way to make it work. Because what you're doing is you're not taking it for the straightforward rational thinking of what it is. It's what's behind that. If you look at that as a metaphor and as an analogy, or as an environment that you can learn from or draw from, or another space or a market or something like that that is kind of similar but different, you could actually start to get solutions. Really good solutions. You can see that they can start to fit. You spend a bit more time with this, you actually, wow, okay, I wanted to solve this, and I went to the world of baby cribs, trying to lose weight. Who would have thought that would have actually solved my problem? One of the things that we do with our clients is try to bring in that stimulus, because a lot of the time when they're trying to, I just saw this. Did anybody forget their pizza? Sorry? Oh. So it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to get closer and closer to this. Sorry, that just threw me off completely. I have a thing for pizza. I love pizza. Oh, yeah, I'll watch you eat that. So one of the things here is to bring external resources or to bring other worlds into our sessions that challenge the mindset. So if you're going to pull something out, so say today we're going to work on something. If you want to pull, if we're trying to invent the new microphone, or we're trying to circulate more newspapers, or any of those kinds of things, instead of looking at the problem or wanting to create a new product within the context of that environment, you pull yourself out slightly. You start looking at value drivers. You start looking about the insights that they're tackling. You start looking at the services that they're offering. Like just the word circulation. If I had to say to you, okay, we're talking about trying to create a way to circulate more newspapers, say for the Daily Bruin, and if I pull up to say circulation, What world, person, people, services do circulation really well or know circulation really well? What are some examples? Yeah.
The human body are.
Yes. Great. What else? Circulation.
Air conditioning,
Air conditioning. Good.
blood circulation.
Sorry?
Blood circulation.
Yeah. Yeah. Others? First thing that comes to mind. Yeah. Money circulation. Yeah. Tires? Yeah. Oh, dries and tires. Yeah. Okay. So thank you. Okay. So one of the things here is that if you think about those worlds, they deal with that every single day. Take that as a metaphor, and start bringing that back in. Start looking at those worlds. You'll probably start finding that you'll get a lot of solutions. You'll get a lot of clarity. There's systems in place. There are operations. There are ideas that you can bring back as a metaphor. So one of the things here as well is about being open-minded is when you're going after new products or you're going back into a business, one of the invitations that we would invite you with going away from today is look at something, you look at the problem, pull it up a little higher, start looking at the context without it being boxed into the actual market that you're in. Start drawing inspiration from others who are doing this very, very well, and you'll probably find that there's some things that are quick to force fit. And what's really interesting as well is that that force fit from another industry could be breakthrough for the one that you're in or that you're looking to solve against. It's so simple, yet we hit it every single time. Doesn't matter what the market, doesn't matter which country, all those kinds of things. Cycling worlds, really important here as well. Innovation and operation. What we found is that we don't think in both of these worlds simultaneously, but we go back and forth very fast. Meaning, if I say to you, where do you get your really, really good ideas? Where is that? What's happening? What are you doing when you get insights, when you just get sparks of creativity? Yeah.
And I run on the beach.
Running on the beach, great.
Shower.
Shower? Yeah, shower.
Drinking.
Drinking, yeah. Yeah.
Not after.
Yeah, everyone's like, yeah, me too.
In the sleep.
When you're sleeping, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Was that a hand or no? Okay. Talking to friends. So do you find that you're in an operational space or you're in a more creative space when that's happening? More creative. Okay, so operational world, decision making, being rational, procedures, routines, rules. A lot of how businesses run, a lot of how the world runs is through this. Our operational system. We wake up, we're in it, we're on it. This is our system. The innovation world, curiosity, speculating, connection making, developmental thinking. When we talk about developmental, giving something space and time to breathe, to be nurtured, those kinds of things. And the idea of experimenting. They're two different spaces. They're two different spaces. I always equated this model to like young children and parents. Young kids, they say, up until the age of 7, almost have no filters. They just do, and they're very creative. After that, we start to get kind of procedural in our mind. So when you see a conflict between a parent and a child, stop that, don't do this, but I just want to be an airplane, I want to be Superman. They're in this innovation space where they naturally should be. And that's kind of naturally where we should be if we want to start thinking of new ideas, new products. We want to get there. But at some point, we have to bring that back into the system of the way the world works. Money, procedures, all those kinds of wonderful things. Logistics, how do you make that happen? So for us, we've been able to pull these two things apart, and we have a system, or we have an approach, a systematic approach to creativity that allows us to guide or facilitate people through those minds. Meaning, everybody really should, in order to make it work well. I mean, how many have been in that situation where you've walked in and say, I've got a great idea, and it kind of just gets shut down? Yes? No? Yeah? Okay. Now, the thing is that one of our big things here is presume positive intent. We tend to tell that to most of our clients, in most of our sessions. Presuming positive intent means if you just had to say, okay, if you had to ask somebody, are you, just out of interest, before I share something with you, are you in an operational headspace right now? Like what's going on in your day? Or are you kind of here? Because I'm here and I got something to share with you. Could you park your operationalism and just open yourself creatively to listen to something for a second? You'll probably find it'll stick a lot better. It's really fascinating. But if you come in this mindset and you start to speak to somebody here, they're going to shut you down because they're saying, I'm just trying to get through this. Much like a parent. Don't bother me. I don't want to dress up like a butterfly right now. I'm trying to make you dinner, or I'm trying to do this. Don't speak to me about some new, creative, wonderful thing. I'm trying to finish this report. I'm trying to get this thing out. Operation versus innovation. So there's a way to get everybody here and to get everybody there because it is important. Although, I mean, who of you have been in brainstorms, ideations, insight-led innovation projects before where you've participated. Okay. That kind of really creative space is important, but at some point, you're going to have to take those ideas and action them. You're going to have to bring them down and action them. That's the operationalism side. And fundamentally, like when you're up in the creative bits and pieces, it's actually the part where most of the innovation happens and most new product development happens is bringing it through the operationalism side. And we can talk a little more about that. So I just wanted you to think about this, and if you are going and interacting, or if you think about your business or even the culture that you're in, is this an operational culture or an innovative mindset culture? Now, neither are wrong. Both are very, very necessary. It just is a way to empower you that if you want to start creating or sharing ideas, it's to actually be able to bring that kind of dialogue to light with the people that you're working with. Okay, insight-led innovation. This here is a model for new product development that we have been doing this all over the world. We have a 5-step approach. They're just some key steps to think about when you are creating or when you're going to go in and do NPD. For those of you in the business, some of this might look familiar to you in your own companies anyway. Big part of this at first is understanding what you're going after. What is our opportunity? Now we say issue, but I also always go in and say, what's the opportunity? You know, there's that thing. There's an issue and opportunity. An opportunity could also be, wow, we've created such a great product. How do we actually manage getting it out to everybody that needs it? Now it's an issue, but it's also an opportunity. One of the things here is to try and figure out what your business objective is, which is also a lot of what this course is about. Figure out what your customer question is. It's really important. Customer question. What's the customer question? Meaning, what do I want from this brand? What is my unarticulated need? You know, why would I want to buy this? How does it integrate into my DNA in my life? This company is providing me a service. The other is the business question or business objective. For the company, for the consumer. These are very important, knowing both sides before you go into creating something new, because you want it to obviously ultimately service both. Knowledge harvesting. This is something what we call, which is looking for information gaps. What do we know already about what we're going after, so we don't reinvent the wheel? And once we know, what do we wish we knew? What's that stuff that we still wish we could answer that we haven't got answered? Now, most of the times your company will say, okay, we wish we knew this. I'm just going to kind of pull it out of my own mind because I know my client base so well, I know the market so well, I'm not going to go and ask. That's a gamble. A lot of our business is actually helping them get back out into the market to ask those questions. What do I wish I knew? If you could have that customer in front of your face, if the market could become a physical person, what would you want to ask them? You know, it's like going and seeing the guru on the mountain. What's that question that's going to solve all my problems? There's a way to go out and find that. So we look for information gaps. We start mapping that out and we go and immerse. Immersing means, and I'm sure some of you have done this, gone into consumer immersions and things like that, where you go and ask questions. You're gathering intelligence, both from your consumer, which we call consumer discovery groups, but also experts and catalysts. Just like we worked out, if you talk about circulation, there are other experts that you can learn from that could help drive your end goal, which is to drive more circulation of a newspaper, just building on that example. You get all of this information, you start to code crack this, what we call code crack, which is to create an unarticulated want, need, or desire. Consumer insight. I find all successful new product development is only successful because it comes from answering a context. What is the context? This isn't just because it's a good idea or it's a great technology. But what is the context? What is this answering for a consumer? An unarticulated need. What that means is, why am I doing what I do before I know that I do it as a consumer? Why do you drink from a blue bottle? I don't know. Because it's blue? Okay. There's a reason why. He hasn't been able to figure that out. I'm not saying that you don't know. Matches your sweater. Okay, there you go. Coordination, color coordination. But there's a way of going in and asking certain kinds of questions in the market to learn more about the unarticulated needs. An example with this was that we were asked by Sara Lee, the brand Sara Lee. They have a division called Kiwi Shoe Polish. They wanted to know why people stop polishing their shoes. So we're doing this across Europe and Africa and stuff. So instead of going and saying like, hey, why have you stopped polishing your shoes? We said, will you go and tell me about your world from your knee down? Just to share with me about your world from your knee down. Now why? Well, because you're talking about an environment. We want to chunk out. We want to understand what's going on. Where psychologically they are. Where are they emotionally? What are the stories they tell? If you took this and made it an environment, how would they start expressing themselves? Somewhere in that, the ritual of polishing a shoe, purchasing a shoe, doing any kind of shoe care falls within that. But there are other things that are going on. Much like with new product development, when you're putting a product on the market and you're doing your competitor analysis and all this kind of stuff, if they're not eating this, drinking this, using this at this time, what else are they doing? Where else are they going? Who else are they using? And why? Well, I want to figure that out so I can get some of those attributes and benefits and cannibalize from those people so that I can drive more frequency to this product. Now, you can look at that from an analytical perspective, or you can also look at that from a consumer insight perspective. What's motivating them to do that I could build into my product? Once you've got these decks of insights, or understanding insights, that's the context from which we invent or create. So I have a context. People want to do this at this certain time because they feel this or they need this. Great. We have a company that could answer that within our products and services. What can we do that's breakthrough? So from here is where we start to do our invention work, growth propositions, inventions, new concept, all those kinds of things, refinement, and then you want to go and test that again. So first you're going to ask, you're immersing to find out what those things are. We are going to solve that on behalf of the consumer. And then we're going to go back and say, have you ever felt like this before? Yes, I have. That's so true. Isn't that amazing? Well, introducing this. We've created something for you like this. How does that land on you? It lands like this. You've really tapped into something that I have needed but haven't been able to express. Consumer insight, new product. That doesn't always work that easily, but this is where our activation or innovation part comes, where you start to cycle that around, to hone that, to understand it. Maybe there are more questions you need answering. This is what we do for new product development with our clients around the world. Figure out what it is, go and immerse, create context as to why we want to create something. If it's a new technology, does it actually fit, as opposed to just throwing it out on the market and gambling with that stuff? So consumer insight, creating something, and then making sure that it sticks. Now the activation part at the end is also, you want something to sustain. It's not a one-time occurrence. You want to build a business. You want to create a new breakthrough. You want to build a line extension, whatever those things are. 5, 10, 15 years. So you want to be able to have those dialogues here and understand something that will last, so that when it comes down to activation planning, planning is also for the future. So 3 big ingredients for us: climate thinking and action. In order to make that happen, when we do that with our clients and when we create great new product development, it's because we have these 3 things in check. Climate is field, energy, what we have going on in this room right now, a rapport, what you guys will have across the rest of this course, building, learning together, creating together, solving together. You're going to be doing teams, right, to have projects to come out with at the end of this program? Okay, so those 3 things is that you want to build great climate with your team, meaning you want to get along. You want to be able to express. You want to be able to get everybody to contribute. You want to be able to come together and win this thing to get that degree. The other side of the thing is thinking. Like, how can I, just like you did earlier, how can I push the boundaries of my own thinking? Action is, how do I have a process in which to go and nail that? So I'll go into just a couple of little things with climate. So one of the things here is the way that we respond with each other in terms of climate is that something will happen outside of us. We will have a representation map inside of us about saying, oh, they just said that to me, I just saw that happen, it means this to me. It's going to start to do something to my internal state, which is going to in turn adjust my behavior to what just happened or to the person that I'm speaking to. This is very interesting about when you're creating new things with people and I offer you an absurd idea or I offer you something controversial where I'm trying to push the boundary in a business, and my internal state is anything new means scary. My state is going to change, my behavior to you is going to change because of my filters. This big yellow bar is meant to represent filters. What information am I distorting, generalizing, and deleting? One of the biggest things up front before we do any kind of great new product development work with clients is to solve this thing. Get teams to work together, get them communicating together, get them liking each other, get them on the same page, all those kinds of things. We say very easily, just take your filters, throw them away. Simple, it doesn't really work that way. But if you're mindful of, I'm blocking this, or I'm going into this with a little bit of caution, all of those are filters. If you're going into something new with an open mind, the chances are you're going to have a greater wealth of content and new content than what you did if you went to it with caution. So this is just a big thing here to work on. So one of the things here is, do you find that if you're in a punishing environment, do you find that it's very easy to share, or you find it's difficult to share? That means that collaborations get shut. Now, nobody's going out and doing this intentionally. It's not like come into work and don't do anything. Of course, like it's on the contrary, they're saying come into work and be productive, but just be productive within these constraints. It's difficult. It's difficult. So if you're in a punishing environment, the chances are you're going to spend more time self-keeping and guarding your ideas. You're not really going to feed things over. If you're in a collaborative environment, you'll find that you want to share more. Teams will collaborate more. So another thing that we do, and that to be mindful of as a team, is to say, I want to create a supportive space so that we can share as much as possible. And here's a really great trick or great clue from Morabian, who talked about researching the idea of mixed messages. He was saying that only 7% of the words that we actually speak to another person are the things that land. The rest is tonality and body language. And I'm sure you've seen that. You can say, like, how are you doing today? I'm fine. I feel great, you know? Or as opposed to, I'm fine, I feel great. It's same words, basically, but very different tone and very different body language. Why is one different from the other? Why is one resonating different from the other? And it's very similar. I mean, how many of you have been in environments as well where somebody's saying all the right things, but everything that their body and their tone is just saying something different? Have you ever done that? Have you ever experienced that? And that's really difficult. That's difficult to work with. That's difficult to create with because you're confused. You know? So the one thing here is, again, all the things, you know all these things, subconscious up to the conscious. How am I showing up? How am I presenting myself? How am I contributing to climate? Very important. Very important when we're facilitating as well and we're working with groups across very, very difficult problems. Here's another one, intent and effect. Everything, and I do believe that everybody has a positive intent with what they're doing, but it's how we interpret it, which is what can either make or break a good collaboration, get something into the market or not, make new breakthroughs or not. So a negative effect, there's a thing called discount revenge. I'm going to come back and get you. You shut me down, at some point I'm going to come back and get you. It's a natural human thing. We all do it, and we're all going to continue to do it. If we feel like we're being oppressed or shut down, we will come back to get our revenge. Discount revenge is one of those things. If we can go into any engagement saying everything that's being said to me, no matter what the tone or body language is positive, the chances are you're going to have a lot more of a collaborative cycle where you're building on each other. Things will have more space to live and breathe. So thinking in terms of connection making, we did this already, and I can run it through you one more time. What does an iPhone and a Post-it note have in common?
Can I notes?
Yeah, you can make notes.
Fits in your pocket.
Fits in your pocket. It's sorry?
Rectangular.
Yes, rectangular shape.
Amazing product. They're both amazing products.
They're both amazing projects. Yes, they are.
Tools to communicate.
Tools to communicate. Good. Okay. So again, connection making. Taking two things that have no relevance at the very beginning. If I say I'm wanting to work on new telephone technology, here's what our solution is going to be. That's where we're going to draw inspiration from. What do you mean? If you're in a punishing environment, no way that will fly. If you're in a collaborative one and saying, what's behind that? What do you mean? Well, let's see what these guys have in common. How can we draw from this world to service this world? And you'll start finding, as you are, that there's capability in that. But that takes collaboration. That takes trust. That takes you guys to be able to work together. In-out listening, here's a wonderful tool for you to go forward. Take a page, any page, draw a line down the middle of it. On the right-hand side, what am I hearing? On the left-hand side, what am I thinking? How long is it that you think you can listen to me before you zone out, before you start thinking about something else? 5 seconds. Wow. I like your honesty. This guy's really honest. Anybody else? Anyone want to go greater or less, or? What was the question? All right, because you're all on it. So yeah, you're right. It's about 8 to 10 seconds. Well, in this class, it's about 5 seconds. You've changed the boundary. So what happens is that I speak around 200 words a minute. Your mind processes around 1,200 a minute. And that means what's happening is in between. It's saying, I'm kind of bored, or it's like, I've got solutions to what this guy's saying. I'm thinking about stuff. I'm making connections, because you are a connection-making machine. I'm going to feed you stimulus. So we daydream. We start seeing visuals. We get taken to places, all that kind of stuff. For us in creativity or MPD, new product development stuff, very powerful opportunity to get those other sources of inspiration that you could put back into your idea generation or into your stuff. So what am I hearing? Facts. What am I thinking? Could be anything else. Start to write that stuff down, because what happens is, as soon as you write it down, you can come back into a dialogue a lot quicker, as opposed to sitting in a daydream. And it kind of looks like this. So you'll bottom out while somebody's speaking, come back in. If you start to write those things down, you'll find that you're quicker in the conversation. And also when you look back at the end of your notes, or if you're going into any other kind of formal session, you'll also have an immense amount of content, both really important facts that you needed to take away, but wonderful stimulus, connections, things that you've seen, trends, products, services, people, brands, any of those kinds of things that could be great sources of inspiration for you to go and research and look at to feed back into your breakthrough stuff. Another thing here I wanted to draw your guys' reference to is this idea of how you think. Now, through our 50 years, it's been very interesting to see that there's kind of a spectrum. When you jumpstart your brain and you start pushing yourself and you allow yourself to push the boundaries and you have a collaborative climate, you have a place where you can be trusted to share your ideas, it's amazing where the thinking goes. So rational thinking, it's what we all do every day really well. It's when we're thinking within the confines of our task and we're staying within that. Diversity, just like we talked about. Okay, let's talk about circulation. Diverse. Now we're going to get diverse different spaces that we can go and draw inspiration from. Where we start with our sessions is wishing. I wish. And we're going to try that out a little later. I wish. Nobody messes with another person's wish. It's awesome. It really is. Like, I've never seen somebody say, that's a really bad wish. Shut up. they just don't do that. They go, oh, wow, okay, that allows me. I can wish for what I want to wish for. And somebody goes, oh, that's a great wish. And then you start stacking on each other. That's where it starts. But wishing takes us back to that sub-7 space. I wish, I dream, very Disney-esque. It's awesome. But you can kind of say, I wish, and put anything behind that, and it makes it okay. It starts to build a collaborative climate and gives people permission to think differently. Pushing that a little more, you get into this idea of metaphor. Metaphors that we found are people speak in metaphors when they are unable yet to articulate in their language of their model of the world what something means to them. Drink this water. How does that taste? I can't describe it. But it's like a refreshing slap in the face, or it's like jumping out of an airplane, or it's like diving into a pool, or it's like, that's metaphor or an analogy. It's a way to describe it through another sensation that we're kind of familiar with, but there's a lot that you can draw from that. A lot you can draw from that, because that gives you, if I had to say, okay, I don't want to talk about, I want to solve for newspapers, but don't mention the word newspapers. And I want to say, just speak about this from metaphor. It's a very interesting space that you can get to. Because what it does is it gives you other worlds to draw from and be inspired by, just like we did with our connection making. Next one up, irrelevance and absurdity. There's not one session that hasn't gone by where somebody says, I wish this was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. What does that mean? Who knows? But when against the context and literally any session, from putting rockets into space, shoes on feet, food in people's bellies, that wishes always come up. Because it signifies so much. It's a factory of creativity. Oompa Loompas, craziness, experimentation. I wish we could do this. I wish we could be like this. I wish we could provide this. Well, let's go and explore what those components are in that world and bring that back to your world. Absurdity. The one beyond this that I don't put on the board, which I love the most, illegal, immoral. What's that one thing that you will say that will get you fired or get you locked up? That's the one I always go for. That's where I like to start people off and to kind of push that. Now, why? Because it's a metaphor. It doesn't necessarily have to be realistic. It may be to you. If it is, I don't want to know about it. All I want to know is your thought, because I'm going to say, well, what's behind that, or what does that represent? I want to kill this person. Awesome. Talk a little more about that. What's behind that? Well, I want to kill him. It means change. It means I want to stop doing something and start doing something else. It doesn't literally mean I'm going to stick a knife in them, but if you give that a space to breathe and you start to explore what's behind that thought, that absurd thought, you'll find that there's some content that probably everyone else shares. You know what? I'm glad you said that. I feel the same. Great. Well, let's go and explore it. What can we get from that? Spectrum of thinking. We all have it. So what I'll invite you guys to do is also be mindful. Am I thinking in this space? Am I thinking in this space? Am I thinking in this space? If I push the boundary, what else will that allow my mind to contribute to me? Action. Roles and responsibilities. Going forward with your course, going forward with your projects, going back into the businesses. This is key. Really, this is key. Like, we found that these normal business models that we have about how people run meetings or how they work with each other, try this out. I guarantee that you probably won't go back to something else. You have a problem owner, meaning that somebody is owning the tasks. It's a champion. Every new product development case in any business needs a champion. It needs a champion, it needs a champion team. Otherwise, it will not survive. It also needs somebody who's directly linked to the outcome, meaning that if I am owning this problem, it means that I have the power to probably implement whatever we make together. If I don't, it's not going to go anywhere. It just doesn't happen. It gets parked on a shelf until somebody wants to come and resurrect it. So the thing here is that you want to have a problem owner. What's the task? What am I going after? You're the owner. You're the one that's going to report to. You're the one that has to drive this forward. Facilitation means somebody outside of content. When we facilitate, Paul and I in our group, we are outside of content. Our job is to extract content. It's to get, say, this entire group together and to say, if this is my task, I want to hear from everybody, and I want to hear your most absurd, illegal idea. And I want to get your thinking out because that's where your IP sits for the company. I don't want to know about what those things are. I don't have to own it. All I have to do is get it out of you, and get it out of you for my problem owner. For this guy who has reached the capacity of his thinking on something, he needs help. You are the resources. That's the third component. You are the resources in which you're going to help him solve something. My job is to get as much content out of you and to work together to build on each other's ideas. You try this model, it's pretty amazing. Just those things. Assign those roles one day. If you feel the desire to do it, have somebody who's going to own a task. The other people are resources. Somebody starts facilitating. Just meaning like, okay, I'm not going to get into the content and contribute. I'm just going to manage stuff. I'm going to manage to make sure that these ideas get heard, get documented. I'm going to check in with my problem owner. Are we on the right track? Is this what you're looking for? Where else would you like to go? How else would you like this room to contribute content to you? It's a very, very powerful, very efficient way. And what this does is it helps you with MPD. When you look back a couple weeks later, or a month or two later, or even 6 months later, at a session run like that, you'll just see how much content there is for you to still go and apply moving forward. Real fun stuff. And it also empowers our problem owner. What we're going to be playing with just now, working on a task which we'll go through. We're going to go explore that real fast, just like we did, throw out some ideas, do some courageous selection, which is very important. What's a new idea? It's intriguing, but not feasible. I don't know how to do it. If you know how to do it, you don't need this group to solve it. It's called low-hanging fruit. Let's just go and plug it in a pipeline. We can go and put that into a development shop. When you get people together like this, you want to work on stuff that's difficult, that you don't know how to do yet, but it's new and it's intriguing. It feels like it's answering something, but I'm not quite sure how to get there yet. I need this group to help me get there. And then an action plan is probably the most important part of this process, which is as opposed to just saying, oh, we got 50 great ideas, hooray. It's actually like, okay, but what's going to happen next? When we go back to the office, when we go and do things, how do we start implementing that? That's probably the most important part of this process, especially for MPD. This is just real fun. Ground rules for you guys. We came up with this little thing called salsa. Salsa because it's spicy and sexy, and it's about movement, and it's about people dancing and getting close with each other, which is kind of like what idea generation is, or what developing NPD is. You've got to get close together. You've got to work things out. You've got to find a rhythm with each other. It has to be cool and fun and hot because it's new, because it's challenging, because you want it to intrigue a market. You wanted people to bite into it and own it. So one way to get this, if you're ever speaking with each other or engaging with others, you want to speak for easy listening. Means I'm going to pronounce my words. I'm going to structure my sentences in a way. We call this headlining. Get to my point first. Mind all the dialogue, all the background stuff. Rather get to my headline just like in a newspaper. That's a headline. That's the content. A lot of the time we speak with content first and we headline after. So when we say speak for easy listening, get your idea out in a headline, give some background afterwards. Assume value. This is a big one. I'd like to rather call it presume value, but assuming value means we were talking about, whatever anybody is saying has a positive intent as opposed to a negative intent. And if it's negative, if you just believe they're being positive, it's going to diffuse the situation anyway. Listen with an open mind, in-out listening, being active. Allow yourself to daydream. Allow yourself to go and get those other connections that you can start feeding back into the session. Hey, I just made a connection to this. What you were saying made me think of this. A build on what you're saying is this because my mind was here. I was thinking about my laundry, but it's relevant because here's how I could feed back into creating something for our product. Stay loose until rigor accounts means Be mindful of your state, your climate, and your field. When rigor counts means when it's your turn to contribute, if you're sitting on something, remember we talked about safekeeping? If you're in a collaborative space and somebody says, I want to hear great ideas, that's when rigor counts. You're staying loose, you're staying flexible, you're listening, you're building good climate in the room, but when rigor counts, contribute. And acting when the time is right is really, with any NPD, in order for it to survive, and most of the time if you are in a session, you have some kind of contributing part to whatever that outcome is going to be. Acting when the time is right is really about taking ownership of your part in driving new product innovation. New product innovation is an interesting thing. That's a whole other topic, and if you get me started on that, I'll keep you here for hours. Trying to do the plan. Now, most of our plans are, we never really ever stick to one. It's a guideline. It's not like, okay, shut up, it's 3 o'clock, we've got to move on to the next thing. We try to nurture that stuff, but a plan is that we try to document every minute that we're with each other so that we can get all those things in. And sometimes you have to be flexible with that. So a perfect example here is we're setting things up. We want to move into our breakout rooms in a second. We're going to listen to a task before that in here, just because the other room's a bit noisy. And then we're going to start ideating together. Myself and Paul will come around, throw a couple of commands at you. But this is really just for you to start practicing a few things that we've just kind of thrown at you in the last 40 minutes. And we're going to give you some other instructions. And on the fly, just like you did that first exercise, is to try that stuff out. And the way that's going to work is this idea of springboarding is these I wishes or how-tos. And when I talk about a how-to, when you're contributing an idea against the task, I wish for a something, it's just to practice that language and see what that does for you. See what that does for you as a group, as a team. A how-to, when you want to phrase a sentence as a how-to, is very interesting. And this I know you'll all be using at some point. When somebody goes like, hey, I wish for this, yes, but we can't really do that because blah, 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 blah. Oh, we've tried all of that before. Oh, I've thought of this before. Oh, no, that other guy does that. Oh, this other company does that. There's no way this can happen. Those kinds of usual things. If you assume positive intent, that could really mean something. If you flip that around to say, okay, instead of blocking it and saying no, or we can't, flip that around into a how-to language. Make it an action language. I would like to, make a 7-layered stack pizza. You can't do that. This is going to be too many calories or too many somethings. Flip it around. How to do that and still be mindful of nutrition. Very different. Still answer something, but what that does is it invites the group to start thinking about ways to still create some kind of monster and also be beneficial to one's health, as opposed to saying, no, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to contribute, let's move on to something else. There could have been something in that if you give it space. So if you find that you've got a block or you've got a question, you want to get more information, flip that around into a how-to language. I wish how-to, very simple. Stick these at the front of your sentences, try that a little bit over next week or a month or something like that. See how different dialogue becomes with people. It's fascinating. So we're gonna be developing some stuff, and then just before we close out, it'll be great for those of you. These are just going to be self-assigned teams of 6 or 7 people out in the foyer. You got a flip chart. We're going to listen to a task. You're going to have some ideation fun. We'll come around and throw some things at you. You're going to present that back, but you're only going to have like 2 minutes to present. So think of this like you're jumping into an elevator with Richard Branson. You're going from floor 1 to floor 40. You have to give him your idea. By the time he gets out, he's either going to buy it or he's not going to buy it. That's the kind of presentation that we're asking for. Because we've got such a limited amount of time, this could be breakthrough. Who knows what you get in such a short amount of time. But this is just about you guys practicing, collating idea, working as a team, coming up with some kind of a concrete output, and being able to have somebody that will stand up and just present that to the rest of the group before we leave here today. So here's our task. We're going to go through this. What I want you to do is start practicing your in and out listening. Line down the middle of the page. What am I hearing? What am I thinking? I'd also like you to start thinking about things as I wishes and how-tos. We're going to go through this. We're going to hear some background about it. It's going to give you a little bit of content. If you have any question, I'm not going to take your question. If you have a question for Peter, I want you to reframe that question either into a wish or into a how-to. And you don't know who your teams are yet, but you're going to start building up some content that when you get down on your tables, you're going to start sharing stuff with each other. So as you start to listen, your role now is resource. Myself and Paul will be facilitators. Peter is our client. That's how it's going to work for the next hour and a bit. So I'm going to have a quick conversation here with Peter. You guys are listening as the resources because you guys have all been hired to help him solve this. Over the next hour, he just wants to get a bunch of really cool ideas that he's going to start to think about how to implement against this. You guys ready? Pens and paper, you ready? Okay. Hey, Peter.
Okay.
How's it going?
Okay, good.
Good. All right. Why are we here? What is our task?
So our task is to try to help all of us as consumers conserve and better use our resources in our home. And by resources, I think very, very broadly. I think of my time, my cognitive ability. I want to spend direct my cognitive efforts to the things that really I care about. And I think about my resources very generally, such as my entertainment resources, my utility consumption, energy, all that sort of thing. So I'm thinking about my home and the resources and using them better and conserving the resources that are in limited supply. So my time is in limited supply. I have a limited cognitive resources, as everyone does, and my energy consumption, other things are things I would like to conserve. So I'm thinking about this just very broadly, holistically.
So why is this a problem or an opportunity for you?
It's really a problem and opportunity, primarily because the cost of these resources has gone up. And I think for everyone, our time is more divided and fractionated, so each bit of it is much more valuable. We certainly expect that all these things that we consume as a resource are getting more expensive, energy, all that sort of thing. And our entertainment resources are proliferating. So those all present a challenge, really.
So regarding this, how to help consumers both conserve and better use their resources in-home, and by resources we mean time, ability, utility, entertainment, all that kind of thing. What have you thought of and tried before to solve this on your own?
Well, I've got in terms of what I've personally tried out and also what I've thought about, is you have all these solutions that are task-oriented solutions, right? We talked about one of them last week, the Nest Learning Thermostat. It's a task-oriented solution. Control my heating and cooling. That's a task. It's not what I care about, right? I want to conserve the resources of my home and have a comfortable home. I have a integrated audio-visual system like Crestron in my house, which the previous owner put in at tremendous expense. And that's supposed to achieve the task of distributing audio and visual content to everyone in the house. But that's really not my need. It's just a task, it's a control, it's a distribution. So there are lots of things in my life that are task-oriented devices or collections of devices. That seems to be what's out there, at least near as I can see. But no one's really addressing this bigger problem that I have.
Mm-hmm. With this group, when we help you solve this particular task, what is your power to implement what they contribute?
Well, I think that the idea of it, of all of our objectives, should be to develop this idea and market it, bring it into the marketplace,
Okay.
forming a company if necessary.
And if you had a magic wand here, or a genie in a lamp, or any of these wonderful things that could solve this for you, what would you want that to do for you? What would you want to walk out of here with today if you could just solve this immediately?
I don't want to walk out of here with ideas for helping move me from this task-oriented, device-oriented control mentality to meeting my needs, to be entertained, to be held, comfortably to do the tasks in my household. And I don't see that in the marketplace at all. So I think of that as a real gap.
So sparking the group's thinking, if I was going to say to you, okay, give me a wish on how to solve this, what would be a wish that would come to mind for you as you've been thinking about this? A wish or a how-to?
I'd love to be able to control, even a limited thing like a limited wishes. I would like to be able to monitor and use all of the resources in the home. So even in a limited area, like just all the utilities, to think about how to efficiently use and conserve those utilities while meeting my goals. That's not there.
So give me one more wish and see if you can make it illegal tomorrow.
I would like to be constantly entertained.
All right? Good. All right.
Not just the bedroom.
Good. Thank you. Who's got a wish for me? Let's just hear one or two. Yes.
I wish for one switch that turns everything on and off.
Great. Okay. So say some more. Say some more about that. What's behind that?
I just hate turning everything off when I'm in the house. I run around like a crazy person.
Uh huh.
So,
So just one big.
yeah.
Okay. Makes me think of Scary Movie. You know when the guy comes and switches the. Yeah. Another wish. Another wish. How to? Yeah.
I wish I could have a device that can make connections between the tasks I'm doing with the need for resource conservation.
Uh-huh. Okay. Intuitive. Great, great. Okay, so the way I'm going to get to that now. What I'm going to ask you guys to do is to start practicing writing your ideas down. So as you start thinking them, as you start getting builds, write them down. Write them down as a, and here's the thing. You can go I.W, blah, 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 blah. That's an I wish, because that helps. H.2, like H2O for water, H.2. That is how to. So if you've got a question, phrase it out. But start to write these things down. When you get to your breakout tables, there are Sharpie pens, there are Post-it notes. What you're going to be doing is writing your ideas down, and you're going to be putting them up onto a flip chart. Now, the reason behind this is that when we get to the point of saying, okay, as a team, I want you guys to get together and select something, select a single direction that you're going to go and work on after about 20 or 30 minutes of this stuff, you want to be able to look back and read what's going on. But this is also, we're going to keep these notes as well. Any of the notes that you make, we're going to keep because they're going to go across to our clients. So he can have a look at these things so that can all be documented and collated. And then I guess those notes, either we'll do it or somebody else here will do it. We'll get that circulated so you can see all the content that was happening in the breakouts. So as you start to speak these things, also make sure you write them down. Or if you are listening to other people, write your ideas down. Even if you don't end up contributing them verbally, write them down and contribute them to the page. Okay? So yeah, you had another one.
Oh, yeah, what would say? I wish I could remotely control devices at my home.
Remotely control your device at home. Okay. So what would that look like to you? What did you have
like
in mind?
Let's say if I forgot to turn off something and I could remotely like maybe call in to do.
So you're out and you're doing something. Okay, very cool. Yeah, any others? Yes.
I wish I had an energy management system where I have a budget for energy, total energy per month, and then somehow I can manage it with all the utilities and all stuff around.
Okay, so they all work around your budget. Interesting, yeah.
So I wish I had some kind of sensors on all my grocery containers.
Yeah.
Which would tell me when I'm running out so that I don't double buy stuff, and waste
Yeah, yeah,
my
cool.
milk or whatever.
Yeah, so there's an alert system or something like that.
I
that
do that a lot.
Okay.
I waste a lot of stuff because I don't remember what's at home and then I
Uh-huh.
don't buy things.
Uh-huh. We all eat out too much, right? Great. Okay, so I know there are going to be more, but what I'd like to do is give you guys a quick, if you can move in like 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, thank you very much for the first part. We'll see you at the tables.